Hi, and welcome to the SheShed. This is season 2. We're back again. My name is Dr. Cheryl Holmes. I'm a psychologist and family therapist, and today we're going into the SheShed. We want to balance it a little bit. We ended season 4 with the men. We had an amazing time. I think every year is getting better and better. Last year we had the ladies. We had some really great conversation. This year it's gonna be even better. So hold on tight. Make sure you get something to sip. Get your tea because we're really spilling some tea today. Three amazing ladies here. I'm going to show you one person who you may be very familiar with. She works with me, but a lot of people don't know that she's a mental health specialist. Not only do I entrust her with some of the administrative things that we do here in Homes Training Academy and Homes Counseling Services, but she also helps me in my practice. So one person that I can depend on to give my clients to is Miss Yvette Robinson. Hello, Yvette. How are you doing today?
Hi, Dr. Holmes. I'm well, thanks. How are you doing today?
I am good because you're behind the mic and in front of the camera. That's a great place for you to be.
It is. I usually like to be behind the scenes, but I jump in when I can.
Right, great. So tell us a little bit about yourself or what's happening with you. We're going to spill some tea later on, but what do you want to tell us?
All right. So I'm happy to be a part of your admin team. And as you know, I've been with you since December of 2017. I always like to say I joined your teaching, your educational piece 3 days after I was asked for a divorce. And so I was kind of, shocked about that, but happy for the training and to learn at that part. It was the relationship coaching. So um, I have blossomed since then. I'm happy to now be a life coach, relationship facilitator. Happy to work with you with clients, training groups, all of the above. So I consider myself to be pretty well rounded.
Good. And we have some personal things that we're going to talk about, but we'll be right back with you. We do have some other ladies here. It's the first time that they're joining me in the SheShed, but we have Dr. Spence all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. You guys know we have to have that Trini sauce in there to, make it good. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Dr. Joanne.
I am, I'm a behavior change consultant. I do psychological evaluations, and so I'm a certified mediator and psychologist. I'm an educator, so I lecture at 2 universities in Trinidad, head of department at one. I'm an author, a mother of 3, and a person who really loves God and loves living for Him.
Okay, yeah? Married or single?
I'm divorced.
Okay, so single, huh?
Yes. Single.
All right, good. So we only have 2 definitions here, married or single. Yes. So we'll be right back with you because we have some really interesting questions. That we heard your professional resume. We want to hear your social resume real soon. We'll be right back with you. Okay, next we have coming all the way from South Carolina is the solutionist. All right, Brenda, come on. Where is the solutionist coming from?
I'm actually coming from Goldsboro, North Carolina.
My apologies.
That's okay. It happens all the time, believe it or not. But I'm a mother, a retired Marine veteran. I did 20 years active duty and then 13 years as a hospital administrator. I have been married 3 times. I'm pending my 3rd divorce. I am the voice for the voiceless, and I'm known as the solutionist because I see things other people often miss. I help women live fulfilled, fully expressed, fully Alive Lives, and I interview people on my podcast, Talk to Me. So I'm excited about this opportunity to talk to you, Dr. Cheryl.
Listen, girl, you have all. Listen, I'm excited already. I am so very excited as to who you are, what you bring here. One of the things that I've said to the ladies backstage, and those of you who have been following me for whatever since 2009, I think. There's nothing once you come into this my sphere. There's nothing I can't ask. You can decide not to answer, but I'm going to ask it another way so that I can get an answer. So eventually we'll get an answer. Ladies, what's happening now is an event. So we have 3 single ladies here today. And because Yvette listened to me, she is engaged. So, and this is a little plug for my singles. I have a single support group where we really look at the science of relationship. We take love out of the pot and put strategy in. Strategy not just to attract a man, but to be able to keep the man and work through the relationship nuances from a very strategic point. So this is Yvette and about 4 other people. We during the pandemic we got them into a relationship. Yvette is now engaged and soon to be married, and is soon to be qualified as a wife, and her fiance is qualified as a husband. I'm saying that because they're going through the training where at the end we can certify that they're ready, absolutely ready for relationship. Doesn't mean that they would not find situations that come up, but we're getting them ready. So Yvette is kind of one of my, I can't say guinea pigs, right? Because that's not cool. But so far it's working really, really, really well. So, ladies, it seems like all of us have gone through divorce.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
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 Uh-huh. How if you were to talk to your old self, um, and with the information and knowledge that you have now, do you think that you would have divorced? Anything going back to the first one,
Mm-hmm.
what was different between divorce number 1? The reason. What was the reason for divorce number 1?
He was gay. That's not conducive to a good marriage with a straight woman.
Did you know that he was gay before you married him?
Absolutely not. I was young, and the fact that he was happy to wait until we got married and have sex, I thought that was just a good Christian boy, and everybody in the church was impressed. The problem was the people in the church knew he had issues, but nobody told me. And it wasn't until after our wedding night that I knew something was wrong in Denmark. And since we were both in the military, he immediately deployed 4 days after. He chalked it up to being tired, but 6 months later, when he returned, and he still was not feeling me, I was like, gave him the side eye. And we were still married for a few years, and I could count on one hand how many times we had sex. And then finally, I found male pornography in his car, and that pretty much was the deal filler. So I confronted him. He beat me to the point of putting me in the hospital, and I went and filed for divorce.
So how long did the marriage last?
3 years.
3 years. Okay. So that was, and that it's the down low on 10, I guess.
Yes,
Right.
he simply married me just to protect his military career.
Okay. All right. Divorce number 2. What was the reason for that?
Divorce number 2 was simply because our military careers kept us apart. He was the love of my life, and I was not willing to give up my military career. Having had the experience I had before, I was not sure if he would really stay there. And when I refused to give up my military career, he decided that the best option for him was to walk away from the marriage. And so we parted friends, but I was devastated.
Okay. So are you still friends with him now?
Yes, we're still friends.
Okay. Okay. Um, Now Ta-da-da-da, drum roll. This is divorce number 3.
Divorce number 3. Oh, and divorce number 2 lasted 5 years.
Okay, 5 years. So there's 3, there's 5. How long did this one last?
Divorce number 3, marriage number 3 lasted 23 years.
Marriage number 3, 23 years.
23 years.
Okay. All right. So what happened? Or what's happening? Is the divorce final already?
No, it's not final yet. It will be final by next month. We had a conscious uncoupling. Within 2 weeks of being married, I realized he was not who he represented himself to be. But unfortunately, it had been my 3rd divorce, and I was determined I was not getting married. So I prayed and fasted and believed God that He was going to change my husband's heart, but that was not. And 23 years later, when I was suicidal, overweight, and at my wits' end, I asked God for permission to leave, got permission, and I walked away. And I lost the weight, got myself together, and we are still friends, and life is good. But he never
Okay.
wanted to be married.
He never wanted to, but he stayed. So in that 23 years, did you have any kind of help? Did you guys go to therapy? Did you read a
We
book?
went
Watch?
Yes,
Hmm.
we went to secular therapy. We went to Christian therapy, and everybody told me to divorce him from the first time I went. But I was stubborn. I was just determined I wasn't getting a divorce. And then 3 years into the marriage, I filed, but came home on a request by him. Ended up pregnant. Didn't want to be a single parent. We made an agreement that I would stay until my child was 18. When my child turned 18, I asked him, did he want to really do this? I'm 58 years old. I ain't got time for this. But he said no. And once he was clear we were good to go our separate ways, I burnt the road. It's time to roll.
Okay. All right. Okay. So at the end of this, would you want to be married again?
Oh, absolutely. I am a diehard romantic. And here's the thing. This I think is always hilarious. People find this funny. I have a successful marriage ministry. I help other people prepare for marriage, stay married, and I'm very successful at that while my marriage is falling apart.
And that's one of the things that I talk about, that it's very possible to heal while you're bleeding,
Mhm.
because what happens there is, if you fall into a hole, you're able to tell someone, don't, that's a hole, don't fall into it. So people disqualify, especially in a Christian circle. Other places,
Mhm.
they don't ask you, if nobody knows who's driving the plane, don't ask him for credentials. They don't ask, the bus driver for credentials, but they want the person who is training to be married. It is, understandable, but not necessary. So that's really good. I have some more questions for you because,
Okay.
yeah, I'm gonna put you on the hot seat in a little bit. All
I'm
right.
gonna do it. That's fine.
Good. I love it. All right, Joanne, you were telling us, if you, looking back, you were saying that the person that you are right now, if you were that person before, you would have still gotten divorced. Why? Okay.
Okay, so
Mhm.
I shared with you that I would have made the same decision, thinking about it, because I recognized that I had lost myself in the relationship, lost self-esteem, everything, and I felt that I was just trying to do things to please him and not myself. And after coming out of the relationship, I found myself again, and I recognized that so many things I was able to do after separation. I recognized that
Mhm.
yeah, she was sharing her experience and how, sometimes you wonder how you help other person, because in my private practice, a lot of persons come from marriage counseling and they told me, you helped me so much and whatever. And people often ask me, how were you able to save so many persons' marriages and cannot save your own? And my answer to them is, you have to know when to walk away. And for me, that was important. I learned when it's time to get, because sometimes we pray and whatever, and we have to recognize, listen, sometimes this wasn't meant to be, and you have to know when to walk away. So that for me was very important.
Okay. All right. Let's get Yvette. Yvette, if you, knowing all that you know now and all that you've been exposed to now, could you have saved your first marriage?
I don't think so. One of the things that I discovered about my first marriage was the fact that distance was involved. So I lived on the East Coast and my husband lived on the West Coast, and I was preparing to transition to move to the West Coast. And he told me he got tired of waiting. And he actually did apologize, saying that he didn't give our relationship a chance to be successful. And for that, he was sorry. And, so are there some things that I could have done differently? Yes, I do agree with that. But just from the perspective of the other person involved and how it is they're feeling about it, sometimes we live in a fantasy world or have a fantasy ideation about how our relationship is, and not taking into consideration how the other person feels in the relationship and what that means for them. And do they have the capacity to be able to endure? And what I realized was at that point, he didn't have the capacity to endure. Now, could we have worked through that? I do believe we could have. However, we both have to be willing participants in that process. And so, since he wasn't willing at that time, I had to concede to that, because one thing that I didn't want to do is I didn't want the relationship that's not fruitful and that we both don't put the work.
Okay, I'm gonna mess you guys up a little bit because I went through a divorce. My ex-husband passed away after. The first thing that I did when that relationship ended was do a self inventory. One, because nothing prepared me for divorce. It was not in, one of those things that you think about and have, stuff just in case. Um, like you, Brenda, I was very young. And, but coming out of that, I looked at me because again, you guys can fully disagree. This is why we have good conversation. A relationship thrives because of two people. A relationship dies because of two people. Unless you have somebody who is there is domestic violence involved, or you have somebody who just absolutely says, you know what, I don't know, I don't want to work, I don't want to be here, or whatever. But a lot of times our preparation for the next comes from a self inventory. So I started to look at things that I could have done better, things that I could have shifted. And I said to God, and I'm not, I don't like to just put religion in there all the time. I said to God, show me me. And when he started showing me through my husband's eyes, and that's what I wanted to see. I wanted to see me through my husband's eyes, not my eyes, not my girlfriends, not my family. I wanted to see if I can experience what he experienced. And when I started to see some of those things, I was literally in tears because there's some things that I missed. A mighty woman of God, and I missed some things, not huge things. Things like he would say, I would come, I like coming home. I miss coming home and smelling you baking or food and whatever. And I interpret that to mean he wanted me he wanted food in the house. And the part that I just kind of glazed over is I miss you. That I that after the fact really hit me where God began to show me different things. Show me the times when he wanted to be intimate because I was busy about school. This is my third doctoral degree. I was really busy and consumed with church and school and things. And he loved God. So the feeling was he will always be there. So there are times in the relationship, the reason I ask that question, and I ask women that question all the time, because when we look at it through the man's eye, we see differently. Is that just me? Or, and again, feel free to disagree. Or have either one of you done that, where you've done the self inventory and looked and say, all right, even to the point where at times you want to call the person and apologize, not because they were always right, but because of your own wrong and wanting to be positioned differently so for your next relationship? Anybody? I mean, again, that's just me. I was just saying, yeah.
Yes.
I totally agree with you. I have been doing and have constantly, I'm divorced about 20 years plus, and I've been constantly self-reflecting, looking at, what is it? Because if you're looking at getting married again, you don't want to go back into the same situation. So I have been doing some reflection, and I could identify with what you're talking about in terms of, I was so occupied in terms of developing self academically. And as he used to say, everything is God, God, and church, 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 So maybe I spend a lot of time there and focus more on God. I don't think it's wrong, but maybe God gave us a family and we have to take care of our family also. So I had to balance it, and I think that was missing. But I also used to neglect myself. I would spend more time taking care of other families, my family, and not me. And therefore, I never really spent time doing much for myself in terms of my self-improvement. I'm not talking academic, I'm talking about me, the individual. And so I think I learned a lot in terms of now I take time and care for me, spa, pedicure, manicure, take care of me. I was not doing that before. So that's one of the things I recognize also.
So would you say that because you and your husband were one, you were not taking care of him, you were not taking care of you?
No, I was taking care of him in the sense of providing, cooking, doing everything else.
But that's not what the man wants.
Yeah,
the man,
I know. Yeah.
Right? So that's why I'm saying,
yeah.
He is saying, for this man, and one of the things I talked about in my book is, it's very, here's an example, and I'm going to use Trinidad and Tobago. It's like, let's say that you're hungry, right? You're really hungry, you're really feeling for some pilau, I'm trying to show that I'm from Trinidad, y'all.
Yeah.
Pilau. So let's say rice and peas. That's what you're feeling for. You're just kind of craving it. Or some curry crab and dumpling or something like that. You're craving it. You go to the store, you go to the spot is closed. And, KFC is right there. You have KFC, you're full, but you're not satisfied.
No,
because in there, you just like somebody says, you ate, yeah, I'm full, but I really wanted to get that. Sometimes in marriages, that's what's happening. We occupy the position of wife, but our husbands is not satisfied. Is that possible? Is it possible? Talk to me, Brenda. Talk to me. I see you.
I would say for me, I fully have embraced my part in my dramedy. And I say that my common denominator in all three of my marriages is me. So I had to take a look at myself in a full-length mirror, and especially after this 23-year one, because I've been separated from my husband almost 3 years now. And so I didn't even file for divorce. That I was doing the right thing because I walked away. And I wanted to be clear and give it an opportunity that if there was a way to salvage that we could. But once I did the work, I realized that one of the main things, since I was the common denominator, why would I pick three men that all are three very amazing men in their own rights? And what I realized is that I was expecting each of them to fill a void that I had not worked on myself. I had low self-esteem. I've come from a background of sexual abuse as a child. So that people pleaser in me and the not wanting to rock the boat picked men that were emotionally unavailable and that had their own stuff to deal with. And I didn't recognize that. And then because I didn't feel worthy and the fact that I felt like damaged goods, I was not aware of what I brought to the table. I was voiceless. But when I found my voice and understood my value, understood who I was and who I was, there was nothing that could keep me in a relationship that was not healthy for me or that I was not healthy for. And I realized all three of my husbands, regardless of the issues, loved me to the capacity that they were capable of. And that doesn't make them bad men. It just makes them men that are not good for me.
If we believe, and I think we're all, faith based and love God and understand God. The question that comes up is, if we believe that God can do anything, we have seen or experienced or heard people who God has healed cancer. God has, people have been raised from the dead, all of those things that He's done. Why can a Christian woman and man, a Christian couple, not find, why is God not able to help marriages? Why can't we take that to Him, and with the faith that we have, walk away with a healed relationship? Why do we?
God is not able. It takes a person has to have the mindset and the heart to willingness to do it. In my case, I have fasted, prayed, and there's enough for this man, and I could slide from here to Tokyo. However, in my case, my husband did not want the marriage. He never wanted it from the beginning. It was the final one, the one who is a minister like I am. The ministry thought I would be good for his ministry. It's not what he wanted. And being at the level of leadership that we was, he needed me to leave so that he could save face and save ministry. So he wasn't going to go. If I did not leave my 23-year marriage, I would still be married today to a man that had me on permanent ignore. And he would have been okay.
But what is the solutionist?
Right.
I'm talking to the solutionist, and I'm going to mess you up a little bit. Okay. Because here's the thing, I'm fighting for a place where irreconcilable differences is not a reason for the Christian to get divorced, because it's a slap in God's face saying this cannot be reconciled. Now, I'm seeing, and those of you who are in practice as well, there's so many people. There's one, I have a couple, they divorced each other twice already. And this will be the third time that they're going to be marrying each other. Right? So it means that during that time, what's happening is the skill, and we're not looking at this as we would have looked at, and I mean this with all the respect I could muster, as a project that we would have been given at work. Some of us have worked in places where the learning curve is so high, but we find books and we find everything. We're staying there. The military, my son was in the military, in the Navy. It's not the easiest thing for you to serve for toys or whatever you call them. That's not the easiest thing, especially you're a woman. There's a whole lot of stuff. There's something that was inside of you that says, every time you had an opportunity to get out, that says, I am going to make it to 20. Why can't we have that? I am going, listen, like Jacob held on to the angel, that we hold on to our marriage and we fight to the end, so that God proves Himself to be who He is and be able to deliver it. Why is God?
It's not about. That's one of the things I always get a kick out of. I've worked with clients that were literally throwing VCRs and stabbing each other, and they reconcile. So I have seen the gambit in my ministry with people that reconcile. And what people, in my case, talking to the solutionist, and in my marriage, you cannot fight against no. I'm a hard no. I'm like, this is the conversation I had. I will do whatever it takes to maintain this marriage. I've stuck it out. I've stayed here. I didn't want to walk away. I said, I will do whatever it takes. My husband's reply to me was, Brenda, I know you to be a woman of God. I never expected you to last this long. I hope you have a wonderful life. You're going to make somebody a great wife.
Who
If I
filed?
didn't,
Who filed for divorce?
I filed for divorce.
Right. So that's the piece that I'm saying, because you can't get out. And again, I may just be pushing a little bit, but this is the place that we have to be able. Proverbs talk about that woman, and we talk about the Proverbs 31 woman, and everybody who knows me know I have my issues with that. But a lot of the divorce would be filed by the female. Dr. Spence, who filed in your case?
I did file, but I have a perspective on this.
Okay, all right. I'm coming back to you.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
Yeah, I did file.
Do you think a woman of God, or anybody should stay in a marriage where a man does not touch her, does not want her, tells her, I don't respect you, I don't want to be with you, have a nice life, and go about your business? I stayed in this marriage at year 12. He told me at year 12, I don't love you, I don't respect you, I don't want to be with you. Stop touching me. I fasted and prayed and believed God for my marriage to the point of suicidal. I'm just like, I done did everything to get this man to see me as his wife and not keep trying to push me on somebody else. And at this point, I put a fleece out to God saying, God, if I am released from this, because I wasn't going, I'm like, till death do us part, for better, for worse. It didn't say if you have sex or not. However, I said, I'm God, I can't take anymore. I said, if I'm released from this marriage, God, don't let this man even look in my general direction or say my name for 30 days. He didn't look at my general direction, didn't come near me. And even after that, I went to my husband and said, this is what I prayed. You fulfilled that. So I know I'm released. But just in case, I don't want to be divorced. Can we work it out? He goes, no. It's basically, you ain't left yet. I left the marriage, separated, did not file, did not do anything for 2.5 years. Every year, from the time I left, I come back and say, are we really going to do this? He's like, you ain't filed yet? I waited another year. I have not been with another man because I said, just in case we reconcile, I don't want no other man to be in there. I had kept myself. And then finally, in April of this year, I came to my husband again and said, Corey, it's not about another man. I don't want to do this, but I don't see a point to keep holding on if you really are not going to come back. He says, I'm not coming back. You need to go. And he says to me, Brenda, I can't give you what you want. I said, well, what kind of woman do you want? He said, I want a woman just like you. I just don't want you. I filed. And it's recorded because I know nobody would believe me. I recorded it because I said, nobody gonna believe this.
And that's good. I understand that. One of the things that I'm seeing is, and the men, so we just came out of the man cave, or we're still in the man cave. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that the women get to that point. The man is saying, you leave. So the woman takes on the expense of divorce. She takes on everything else. If the man wants to leave, why would he not file? Let me go to Dr. Spence because I know we're running out of time. This is good. And I'm glad, Brenda, that you're sharing the tea.
Yeah. So my point is, as Dr. Holmes just spoke about, why, if you believe God for everything, why not believe God for your marriage? I believe that there are some marriages not really sanctioned by God. One. Yeah, well, that's my belief. I believe that sometimes we get ourselves into.
But how do we?
It's not pleased with.
So the people who are listening, how do we know? Because marriage is not just for Christian. You have a lot of marriages. How do you determine? To our sisters listening, how do you determine if this is God? If you're in a God-sanctioned relationship, so if that is dating, is courting right now, how does she know that this is a God relationship?
Okay, so there are relationships. When you're in a relationship, there are things that you're together, we're recognizing, okay, this is meant to be there. Sometimes there are signs. We see things and we recognize we are gelling, we're recognizing a number of things connecting us. and recognize this is really, even if you're not a Christian, and you say, you know, that we, so as a Christian, we say this is God. As a non-Christian, we say, wow, we really gel, you know, we are connecting and so on. So there are things that connect us together. But the other point is, God would change things, but if the other party doesn't want to change, how would that happen? Now, while if I was saying, if I had said I still wanted the marriage, it would have been there because I decided, I prayed and I was, I said, God, remove this man. I'm very unhappy, things he's not, don't intend to change. And I prayed and I was, to remove him. And then, you know, when he went, I went and filed divorce because I saw no change. If I had stayed, he would have been still there because he wanted to do what he wanted to do and still be there. So it would have been, I would have had a marriage, but I would be very unhappy.
He was unfaithful?
Yes, he was.
Okay.
And you know, I prayed, like Brenda said, I prayed, I asked God to change him. I prayed, I fasted and so on. But if the man don't want to change, then what would I do?
But again, I'm still saying, I'm like the crazy person who believes that you can't even come back from. In fact, one of the men in the man cave was talking about that. There's sometimes people work through having not just infidelity, but a child. And I know since you guys are in practice, you know people who even through the pregnancy. So, but I'm saying, should, and Yvette, I'm gonna come to you. Should the marriage make you happy? Is happiness a requirement to stay married? If you're not happy, then you leave. Yvette, let's go to you, and I'll come back to the ladies.
Yeah, I think there should be a level of satisfaction and happiness in the marriage. If it's not, I think that it's an area that if the two agree, you should work on ways getting back to that. Because I know that there are going to be times where you might not like your spouse. You know, you may be going through something, and for whatever rough season that you're in, you know, it might be very hard to get through that, but it's not to say that you can't get through that. So I do believe there are going to be ups and downs. There are going to be times when you're happy. There are going to be times when you're not happy. But I do believe that you can work through it if you have a desire to do that. As far as my marriage, my husband filed for divorce. It wasn't me. So, you know, I was holding out hope that the relationship would last, but he said he wasn't interested. But the funny thing is, like I said, he wrote me recently and told me, you know, how and why he felt the way he did. And then he also said, you know, if you're interested, I'd love for you to come back. So I thought that was interesting. And it actually made me feel good because
Good, yeah.
I was racking my brain over, well, what could I have done differently? And he basically gave me an out and said, you know, it was really all me. So, you know.
Yeah, sometimes it's, and one of the things, and I think, I don't know if Dr. Joanne said it, but I heard from Brenda, taking that time in terms of separation, as opposed to just kind of going directly into divorce, taking that time, because a lot of times, not all the time, there is some time for both individuals to live without you, because living together is really, really tough, you know? And so giving that time and space to the relationship to at least, you know, think about it. And from what Brenda is saying, she's coming back every year in that place. And that's a really very tough place to be. I just like the idea of, if you're so upset and uncomfortable, we'll file. Because what's happening for us, especially if you're with an alpha man and the man who just like, we lead all of this. But when it comes to this part of it, they leave it totally up to you. Totally up to you. Female alimony, your thoughts?
I paid alimony to my first husband.
Okay. How do you feel about that?
I didn't like it because he came to the marriage with nothing but left with a whole bunch of stuff. But that was California law because it was a community state. So that's where I got married at. So it was the law. I didn't like it, but I had to pay him alimony until he became, what was the term they used? Until he was accustomed to living in the manner to which he had lived before. And I thought, ain't that about a blip? And we had no children.
And
Or
how long did it take to get for him to get to that level?
6 months.
Oh, that's okay. That's not bad.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I thought okay. I'm not saying that it's not bad, but
no,
it's not as long as I thought.
no. I only pay alimony for 6 months.
Okay, Dr. Joanne, what's your thoughts on female alimony or child
Well,
support? Hmm.
okay, well, I've never had the experience. I have 3 children. My husband never paid, and in terms of me, we are not accustomed. I think the culture in Trinidad, we're not accustomed of the women paying. It's always the men have to pay. So it's something I'm not accustomed to. So I know that you all may experience that abroad, but we don't really have much of that unless the man really isn't working or anything. And he's taking care of the children, the court may allow him. But somehow the culture here in the Caribbean, the men tend to be the ones who are paying all the money. So we're not accustomed with women paying. Yeah.
Okay, all right, okay. So everybody
Yeah.
needs to go to Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, the women alone, not the men.
Oh yeah, okay.
The
Only the
women,
women. Only
yeah,
the women. All
yeah.
right. Yvette, your thoughts?
I don't agree with female alimony. I'm pretty traditional in the sense and belief of, the man being the head, being the provider. Not to say that we don't acquire wealth and, stuff together, but just as a general, as a basis, no, I don't agree with that. Now, I also agree that you should go into your marriage with a prenuptial agreement, so that in the event the marriage dissolves, you'll kind of know where you stand with that. So, as I'm planning to be married, I'm happy to do the prenup. I mean, I don't have any plans that the marriage is not going to work, but just as a comfort, to my husband, to let him know, listen, I'm not in it for what I can get. So even though I know we're not going to be divorced, I'm happy to do that anyway.
Thoughts on prenups?
I'm not doing a prenup. That's a setup for failure.
Okay, so you feel like you're going in preparing for that. All right. Dr. Joanne, prenup.
No, I'm just not into it.
Mm-mm.
Okay. Even though for both of you, you may be the person. So if you, let's say, the guys will kill me for this, but let's say you meet someone and believe that this is the person for you. They're making $20,000-$30,000 a year. Let's say you're making 6 figures. You have a business and everything else. You would not want to protect it with the prenup.
I'm not going with a man like that. For
Listen,
me, he has to be financially matched for me because that's a vision for myself. So if he is not making at my level, because I have done that with my husband before, who took me to the bank because I was already at a 6 figure level, I have decided that for me, he has to be financially, spiritually, and mentally matched, or else he's not even a candidate for a date.
Okay, but how? So then that's really interesting. When do you ask the question? When do you know? Because you said that even for a date, which
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably stretching it a little bit. But
No,
when
no,
does
I'm not
that?
stressing it. I'm clear on that.
No, seriously. Okay,
No,
so
I'm clear.
when in the interaction would you find out how much they're making?
Well, fortunately for the circles I run into, the men I run into are not broke. So I don't even have to ask that question because I already know they rolling large.
So you can. So what happens if you go on? You come here to New York. We invite you to be in a conference or something. You meet a really nice New Yorker. When does that conversation happen? He takes you to a nice restaurant. He's driving a good car. Might be
I
his
think
mother's
the
car,
way
brother's car.
I
Right.
think the way I usually figured out, like honestly, how I figured out, I pick my favorite restaurant. If they can't afford to take me there, they can't afford to spend time with me.
But if he gets a loan, or
He's
is
not going to
that?
be alone because he's not going to have time. It's usually not like that. And,
Okay.
and the reality is, I'm just speaking for myself. Most of the people that are approaching me, they already kind of know what I do and things of that nature. So I really haven't had that situation. I have girlfriends that ask me that all the time. What do you mean? What do you have this guy? And he happens to be broke. I'm like, I'm not selling. I'm not doing it because there's things I want to do. There's places I want to go. If he can't pick up and take a trip to Paris, that's not the brother for me, and I'm not mad about it.
Okay. All right. Would you ever pay for a date? On a date for dinner?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm
All right.
against. I'm just saying there's a certain level that I expect, and I'm not willing. I'm 58 years old. I'm on this side of the sidewalk, so I'm not willing to. I'm look not what is it? Bob the Builder, Build a Bear. I'm already established, so I'm expecting him to be established mentally, emotionally. I've done the work, so he has to do the work.
But I'm telling you, there's some advantage by because men don't come fully assembled. I keep saying that, but there's some advantage to building some parts of it of
It
him.
was when I was
Not
younger. It's not now.
okay. Um, uh, Dr. Joanne.
Yeah, for me, while the finances is important, it's not the most important thing for me. So that what I've recognized is that persons not on your same level, sometimes we have problems because I have been in relationships where the persons may feel that they're not on my level and they start to behave in a particular way. Their low self-esteem make you feel very uncomfortable. So sometimes you have to kind of date with somebody similar on your level. I would not make it an issue in terms of okay, he has to be rich. I mean, of course, if I get one who have money and can do all the things I like, of course, yes. But not that's not the priority. I think behavior, the way they passionate love for God, love for me, and things like that is more important. Because I believe that once you work together, you can establish and accomplish things that you want. But the basis is really relationship, how they love God and their parents and so on, but through how they love me. So for me, that is important. You know, I want to share this quickly. I was going out with a guy, and he said, our first date, he said, he took me to dinner, and he said, work with your CV. Now he's a professor, I'm a lecturer, so I thought it's in terms of work. And his thing is that you have to be a particular level in terms of to date him. So he worked with his CV as professor of this and that and so on, and that was quite interesting to me. And that was the last time I went out with him because I'm saying that if you need to put my qualifications to be with you, I have to be some professor so and so, you know, or certain academic level. That means this is not the person for me. You know, and Brenda started to speak, I remember the guy and I smiled, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's different.
yeah.
But isn't that what we do? I guess it kind of cuts some, in his mind, cuts some of the time to get to know, but to bring an actual,
Yeah, it was. It was like
okay.
an interview for a job, you know. In other words, you walk in your CV, you want to see it looking at mine and bring his own. And, you know, I said, what is this? You know, because I thought, well, okay, maybe you recommended me because, you know, I'm lecturing, you professor also. And maybe, you know, recommending, not thinking that that's part of the dating process for him.
Lord
Dr.
Jesus.
Cheryl,
Uh-huh.
can I just mention why I take such a hard line on this? It's because I'm a money magnet, so I've always made money. And I got really tired of men that didn't make as much as me, uh, feeling so insecure because I made money. I mean, I had a situation before I married my husband. I was crazy about this guy. He didn't make nearly as much as I did. So I told him, pack a bag and go for the weekend. Let's go. I took him. We had a fabulous weekend. He came back and he broke up with me. And I'm like, why? He said, you make too much money. I don't want a woman that makes more money to me. And this is before I met my husband. Every time I would date a man that made less money to me, they made me feel guilty because I made
Yeah,
money. And I made a decision, draw a line in the sand. I don't have time for insecure men that feel like their money determines their masculinity.
I
So
like
for
that.
me,
Yeah, that's good.
I
yeah.
needed to make sure that I was in circles that allowed me to be with money, with men that made my money look like I wasn't even making money, or at least match mine. And that was
But
my comfort zone.
there are some, I'm going to go to Yvette and then we'll do final words. There are some guys that I heard. There's one particular man who says if he's making 30 and his girl is making 200, he is making 230. So
And
he
that's
is
where it
not,
should be.
yeah, so he is not like, insecure or whatever. And so it does not, there are those who would be okay with it and manage the entire thing. I'm not saying that they're going to take all your stuff and run, but it doesn't floor them. It's not, this sense of masculinity is intact. Um, Yvette, the money.
If he makes less than me, or
Mhm. If he makes less than you.
I mean, that would be fine for me as long as he didn't have any issues or if he didn't have any hangups related to that. If that didn't change his posture as the head, then I would be fine with that.
Those of you who said that you wouldn't do a prenup, if this person has previous marriages and have children and they're caught up in the court and they're, lean on stuff that they have, you still would not want to secure your finances?
Maybe I'll consider that situation.
But again, too, it goes about what you're saying. I don't date men with children, so it's a whole. I have
Oh,
so many different. I'm not doing
okay.
it.
No, we need to get you back again. Then you're saying you're 58, but you're not marrying people with children.
I'm like, if you got little kids and all,
Or little kids.
little kids, I'm not dealing with all of that drama because it's drama, and everybody knows their capacity. And I said, I am not putting up with for 23 minutes what I put up with for 23 years. Ain't happening. So if that means I'm gonna take it to the grave single, I know what I bring to the table. And I'm ready to eat alone.
All right, my last question before we have final words from you. Even as, how do you manage your sexuality during your time of singleness?
I can answer that.
How do you manage your sexuality during this time of singleness? Now, okay, so if you don't want to talk about yourself, talk about the girlfriends or whatever, because you guys have been married. I'm thinking you have a healthy sex appetite. Go ahead, Yvette. You go first, and then we'll take the other ladies, and then we'll have final word. I know everybody's trying to figure that out.
Yeah. So since May 13th, 2017, I haven't had sex. That was the last time I did with my ex-husband. And so one of the things that I did with my fiance was I asked him if he would be the keeper of our chastity, because I knew that it was going to be hard and it's very tempting. We do share a lot of intimate moments, but we have not had sex. And so it's a good thing because we do have the conversations, we do talk about what we like, what we don't like, the things that we're preparing for when we're married. And it was a good decision to make because trust me when I tell you, I have tried to tempt him in more ways than one. And he has been steadfast and unmovable. And so, I get a kick out of that.
Kudos to him. Do you hear her say she's tempting him?
I have. I ain't gonna lie, because it's not easy. That was why the Lord knew that I had to ask him to be the keeper, because it's been a long time. And let me tell you, it's not easy. But he's definitely been faithful, and I'm grateful to God to have a man like him. And I can't wait to get married.
Right. So that's one of the things that couples don't realize. It's a very good test because even in those moments, it should be a struggle. It should not be something that you just like, it's been a year and you guys are not struggling to stay away from each other, right? So that too is part of understanding who you're with and the sexual appetite of the other person. So it's just like us, we want to lose weight. It's not that I'm not hungry, but right now I'm not going to have that. But I need to be that pull, that pull is still there, and you want to pay attention to that, the lack of the pull. Dr. Spence, how are you managing?
Yeah. For me, I immerse myself in work. I'm not kidding about this. I really tell myself, but you need to take it easy. I immerse myself in work. I'm not dating now. I'm just always finding something to do, always have something to do, involved in a lot of things. And so I'm so occupied with those things that I don't really think of, a relationship and so on.
But do you think about sex every now and then?
Yes, I do. And I try to keep myself away from it by writing, by doing a number of other things. I don't
that's one of the things that the church wants to talk about. She come on 100 and like you just not, don't think about it. It's just like, it just can't have it now, right? Brenda, the solutionist.
Oh, well, The way I deal with my sex drive, which is very high, and I've decided to stay abstinent until I'm married again. But the way I deal with it is I teach a class called How to Have Sex That Makes the Angels Blush. I also write erotica and I write erotic letters for couples. So I release that sexual tension that way, get
Beautiful.
back, and exercise.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. And that's one of the things that I like, that people are still able to talk about it. I remember when I was single, I would tell my sister, listen, if anybody comes near me right now, it's a wrap. It's just, I might have to, I say these things and then my inbox is full with all these crazy people not knowing that I am married. But you feel at that point where, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rape a man or something if I don't. I know it sounds kind of really crazy,
No,
but it's
No,
right.
it doesn't. It doesn't.
Good.
Let me just
that's what
let
writing
me
is a good way to get rid of
let
that
me
tension.
tell you.
I write the
Let me tell
stories that's
you.
really good.
I
That's
had a
good.
day. I had a day a couple of weeks ago where I was trying my best to do some stuff. And I was actually in a room with my friend, Lady Wisdom, in Clubhouse. I tell you, the Lord kept us in that room for 6.5 hours. I believe that was just for me because He knew that I had too much idle time on my hands. And He kept us in that room. And I had to confess it. I was like, because I had every intention of doing some stuff I didn't need to do. And that's just real. It's
And
just
I
funny.
think when you're real with God, He's able to help you. Okay, ladies,
Mhm.
let's get some final words. Let's start with some final words from Yvette. Give us your final word.
So, final words, it's a blessing. Relationships are a blessing. And I think it's so important to do the work so that you can have a successful relationship. Just looking at all of the ways that you are, looking at the good things, the things that are not so good, especially if you ask God to show you who you are, and to be in a position to move forward and do the work on those things so that you can have a successful relationship. And those dynamics are powerful. So if we would just continue to do the work, I think you are able to have a successful relationship.
And that's good. And we're glad that you're doing the work. All right, Yvette, nice having you in front here. And thank you for all that you do. We know that, you're celebrating right now. So thank you so much. And I know you would be back. Let's just get final words all the way from Trinidad and Tobago. Dr. Spence, give us your final.
For me, I think in relationships, you have to be honest with each other. It's so important for you to understand that your partner will get to know you at some point in time. So the things that you hide and you cover to look good is not important. What you need to do is just be honest with that person. Don't try to be anybody else, but be you. Honesty, I think, in a relationship is very important. So what I would say is be honest. Be honest with your partner.
Good. Are you dating now?
Sorry?
Are you dating
No, I'm
now?
not. No, I'm not. I'm
Okay.
immersed in
If
work.
All right. But so if a man sees you now and he wants to say hi, is that okay? Or
Yeah, of course, of course.
okay, good. So just keep it respectful. Guys, I told you sometime soon I'm gonna be doing the matchmaking. So, if you see anybody you like, inbox me. Let me be the one to connect you. Thank you so much, Dr. Joanne. I know we'll see you again.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Okay. All right. I love the solutionist. Give us your final words.
My final words is that the key to a good marriage, I believe, is open, honest communication and submission one to another. When I say submission, I'm talking about standing unmovable, believing that marriage intimacy supersedes self, and it will improve in open communication naturally. And the choices you make today will be the reality you live tomorrow. So choose wisely.
Listen, I appreciate you. I appreciate your candidness, your openness. I know a lot of people would have gotten help from you today, and we're looking to see who's going to be up there. The fourth. We're going to make sure that this one works and lasts until Jesus comes. Take your time. You're beautiful. Are you dating right now?
No, not.
Okay, all right. So, are you open to dating?
Not until my divorce is final. I made a
Oh
commitment to
yeah.
myself
Okay.
that I would
Okay.
not date until my divorce is final.
Okay, let's see. Hopefully, God might even turn something around. We don't know. Nice meeting you, Brenda. Well, this has been such a great time with the ladies. The She Shed is always so energetic, and we talked about a whole lot of things. These ladies shared from their strengths and from their failures, and that's what we do. To anyone who's listening, know that you don't have to go through a relationship alone, and you don't have to mask. If things are not going well, tell someone. No one can help until you actually share that. We talked about sexual intimacy and the fact that even as you're single, it's not that you're not feeling or craving sexual intimacy. And if you're not craving it, you want to talk to somebody about it because it's a natural response. My name is Dr. Cheryl Holmes, and it has been my pleasure to be with you in the SheShed. Until next time, bye-bye.